What if I told you that, beneath the surface of your daily choices, your conflicts, your desires, and even the way you dream about your future, there are four timeless forces shaping everything? These forces are older than civilization, yet alive within you right now. They whisper in your instincts, they echo in your relationships, and they appear in the stories humanity has been telling for thousands of years. The warrior, the lover, the magician, and the king. These are not abstract ideas from dusty psychology textbooks. They are living energies, psychological blueprints, and symbolic truths that shape who you are and who you might become. And once you understand them, you will never look at yourself or at others in the same way again. The concept of archetypes is not new. Carl Jung described them as universal patterns of the psyche, recurring images and symbols that express the deep structure of human consciousness. Myths, religions, fairy tales, and even modern films all repeat the same four figures because they represent something eternal. They represent aspects of the self that are both personal and collective, human and divine. To understand them is to hold a mirror to your own soul. Let us begin with the warrior. When you think of a warrior, images of battles, strength, and courage may appear. But the warrior archetype is not just about violence or physical conflict. It is about directed energy, discipline, and the willingness to fight for what truly matters. The warrior within you is the force that pushes you to set boundaries, to pursue goals with determination, and to stand firm in the face of adversity. Without the warrior, life becomes stagnant, full of hesitation and surrender. Yet, when the warrior dominates, without the balance of the other archetypes, it can lead to aggression, destructiveness, or an obsession with control. The warrior archetype calls you to ask, what is worth fighting for? Not every battle deserves your energy. True warrior energy is discerning. It knows when to strike and when to remain still. It is about channeling fire, not being consumed by it. Every time you stand up for your truth, defend your values, or endure pain for something greater, you are invoking the warrior. Then comes the lover. The lover archetype is often misunderstood. It is not only about romance, though passion is one of its expressions. The lover is the archetype of connection, intimacy, and sensitivity to beauty. When the lover is alive within you, the world feels vibrant. Music stirs your soul, art moves your heart, and relationships awaken your deepest longing. The lover is the archetype that reminds you that life without connection, without beauty, without love, becomes empty and mechanical. But just like the warrior, the lover has both light and shadow. Too much lover energy without balance can become addiction, obsession, or being consumed by desire. The shadow lover is enslaved by longing and unable to stand on its own. Yet the healthy lover brings vitality, joy, and profound intimacy. It asks you, what do you cherish? What brings life to your soul? Where do you feel most alive? Without the lover, all victories of the warrior feel hollow. The lover gives meaning to the battle. Now imagine the magician. This archetype has always fascinated humanity. In myths and legends, the magician is the shaman, the sage, the one who sees hidden truths. In psychology, the magician represents knowledge, insight, and transformation. It is the energy that seeks understanding beyond appearances. Whenever you question reality, seek wisdom, or transform pain into growth, you are touching the magician within. The magician is also the archetype of initiation. In every culture, the magician figure guides the hero through trials, reveals hidden paths, or unlocks new ways of seeing. But the magician has shadows too. When corrupted, it becomes the manipulator, the deceiver, using knowledge not to enlighten, but to control. The dark magician hides truth, distorts reality, and traps others in illusions. Yet when balanced, it is the part of you that sees through lies, uncovers patterns, and brings healing. And finally, the king. More than a ruler, the king archetype is the center of order, authority, and blessing. It is the energy that holds everything together, that brings structure and vision. A true king does not dominate for personal gain. He provides stability, he blesses others with his presence, and he creates a world where life can flourish. In mythology, the king was always linked to the land. When the king was just and balanced, the land was fertile. When he was corrupt or absent, the kingdom decayed. In your life, the king archetype is the part of you that seeks to lead with integrity, to create harmony, and to take responsibility not only for yourself, but for others. When the king is absent, life feels chaotic, fragmented, and without direction. When the king is inflated, it becomes tyranny and narcissism. But when it is healthy, the king is the archetype of maturity, vision, and blessing. It asks you, how do you rule your inner kingdom? Are you a tyrant, a weakling, or a just ruler? Together, these four archetypes form a map of the psyche. The warrior gives you strength, the lover gives you connection, the magician gives you insight, and the king gives you order. Each is essential. Each has a light and a shadow. And when they are in balance, they create wholeness. But here's the real question. Which of these archetypes rules your life right now? Are you led by the fire of the warrior, consumed by the passion of the lover, guided by the insight of the magician, or stabilized by the vision of the king? But if the warrior teaches us courage, the lover reminds us why courage is worth it. The lover archetype is not limited to romance. It is the force of connection, intimacy, sensuality, and the appreciation of beauty in all its forms. The lover is present when you fall deeply in love, but also when you feel awe at a sunset, when music stirs your soul, or when you lose yourself in the moment with a close friend. The lover is about passion, the sacred longing to merge with something beyond yourself. It is the source of creativity, empathy, and sensitivity. Yet when this archetype dominates without balance, it can lead to obsession, addiction, and the inability to set boundaries. The lover becomes a prisoner of desire, always chasing intensity, but never finding grounding. To embrace the lover means to honor the beauty of life while remembering that love cannot enslave you. It must liberate you. And then we meet the magician. The magician archetype embodies wisdom, transformation, and the pursuit of hidden truths. He is the keeper of sacred knowledge, the bridge between the visible and the invisible, the rational and the mystical. The magician shows up in inventors, shamans, scientists, spiritual teachers, and artists who can reframe reality. His power lies in his ability to reveal what is hidden and to create meaning where others see only chaos. But the shadow magician is manipulative, using knowledge not for healing but for control, creating illusions instead of insight. The magician without integrity becomes a trickster who traps others in deception. To awaken the true magician within is to seek wisdom not for ego but for service, to use insight to heal, to teach, and to illuminate the path for others. Finally, we come to the king. The king archetype represents order, authority, responsibility, and vision. The king is not merely a ruler. He is the axis around which the world turns, a stabilizing force who blesses rather than oppresses. A true king does not crave power for its own sake. Instead, he embodies service, ensuring the well-being of his people, his family, and his community. The king archetype is evident in leaders who govern with justice, in parents who nurture with wisdom, in mentors who guide without demanding worship. Yet the king's shadow is tyranny and arrogance, the abuse of power, the demand for loyalty without offering protection. A wounded king breeds chaos in those he rules, but a balanced king creates harmony, ensuring that life itself can flourish. To embody the king within yourself is to take full responsibility for your life, to bless what is good in others, and to build rather than destroy. Taken together, the warrior, the lover, the magician, and the king represent a complete map of human potential. Each archetype teaches us something essential about who we are and who we can become. The warrior reminds us to fight for what matters. The lover shows us that beauty and intimacy give life meaning. The magician reveals the deeper truths beneath the surface. And the king teaches us to rule ourselves and our world with vision and responsibility. When these archetypes work in harmony, we achieve balance. We are not slaves to our desires, nor victims of fear, nor tyrants of control. We become integrated beings, whole and alive. Yet in life, most of us struggle with imbalance. Perhaps you've lived too long in your warrior, always fighting, never resting. Perhaps you've been trapped in your lover, consumed by passion but unable to find clarity. Perhaps you've leaned into the magician's cleverness, always analyzing, never feeling. Or perhaps you've sought the throne of the king before you were ready, trying to control what you could not yet understand. This is the challenge of archetypes. They are both gifts and dangers. To grow is to recognize when you are trapped in the shadow of one, and to bring the others forward to restore balance. Think of your own life right now. Where do you see these archetypes most clearly? Which one feels natural to you, and which one feels underdeveloped? If you are always fighting, maybe you need the lover to soften you. If you are always seeking intensity, maybe you need the warrior to ground you. If you are always analyzing, maybe you need the king to give direction to your wisdom. And if you are always trying to control, maybe you need the magician to remind you of mystery and humility. Each archetype is not outside of you, but within you, waiting to be called forth. The great philosophers and psychologists remind us that archetypes are not cages. They are mirrors. They reveal the timeless patterns of human nature and invite us to integrate them in ways that make us whole. To understand archetypes is to understand yourself at a deeper level. It is to realize that you are more than your habits, more than your fears, more than your desires. You are the sum of countless forces woven together across history, culture, and the unconscious. And when you awaken to these forces, you gain power over them. You begin to live consciously, deliberately, with awareness of the roles you are playing and the stories you are writing. So the question becomes, which archetype will you call upon in this moment of your life? Will you summon the warrior to defend what is sacred? Will you open yourself to the lover to embrace connection and joy? Will you listen to the magician to uncover hidden wisdom? Or will you step into the role of the king, taking responsibility for the kingdom of your life? Each choice shapes not only your destiny, but the destiny of those around you. And perhaps this is the ultimate lesson of the archetypes. They are not meant to be admired from afar. They are meant to be lived. They are invitations to embody courage, love, wisdom, and responsibility. To integrate them is to awaken the fullness of your humanity. Which of these archetypes do you feel most connected to right now? And which one do you feel you need to develop further? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Remember, you are not just a fragment of one archetype. You are the potential for all of them. And when you bring them together in harmony, you step into your truest power. So if this video has given you something to reflect on, give it a like, and make sure to subscribe for more deep explorations of the mind, the soul, and the archetypes that shape us.